Dreamers, welcome back to Daydreaming episode 83. Oh my gosh, it feels like it's been forever, even though time goes by so fast, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's been any time either. Let's see here, what can we catch you up on? We've had so much action happening over the last couple of weeks that it felt really good for me to take a break from the YouTube videos for, 1 week, and that we're going down just the once a week. Obviously, we could talk about the things such as the demonetization, all that yada 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 stuff, but really more so it's an emphasis on what we're creating, why we're creating it, and are you having fun with your passion. And so I was becoming more and more stressed by constantly putting out this specific type of content, whereas you guys have known with the dream stream, yeah, there's a lot that I do to set it up for a certain thing, but there's also a lot of interchangeable parts that I can go ahead and mix and match. It doesn't have to be to said script. But you guys are watching this in a format that we don't get to interact directly, thus there's a little bit more prep work that goes into it, and thus, you know, less and less time available when I want to do all these other awesome things that are on my mind. Okay, so let's see here. Well, how can we catch you up quickly enough? So over the last 2 Retro Fridays, we played 2 different awesome, and you guys made it highly interactive point-and-click games. 1987's Deja Vu. I had played that game a lot as a child. I thought I had beaten it as a kid, and the way I had beaten it, because like the way that game works is that you can beat it, but you don't actually get the perfect ending, where you get like 10 years in prison. Like, there's all these different levels to it, right? And that's based on the evidence you have, if you made sure to protect yourself in the long run. And we got the perfect ending. It was so cool. I'd never done that before. That was a lot of fun. Then, because that was such a hit, I put it out there for you guys to vote on, and Shadowgate won. And I hadn't played that in forever. Another 1987 classic, and both of these 2 games got ported over to the NES because they actually were Apple Macintosh games. If I want to say Macverse, I want to feel like that's the correct terminology for what they were played on originally before being ported over. And that was more of a medieval theme, and I'm so glad that I had help because I was not going to figure out half of those things, or maybe would have taken the whole stream. But we were able to get it done in about 3.5 hours, probably about 3 hours if you take away the food break time. So that was excellent. It was so much fun. What else have we done? Darkest Dungeon's been going really well. We've only lost 1 or 2 people. We are now starting to take down some of the bosses, which has been awesome. What else has happened? Speedruns. How have our speedruns gone? We shaved 6.5 minutes off of Zelda Link's Awakening. Almost. About 6 minutes, 25 seconds, I want to say it was. And that was really cool. I was really stoked about that. And there's some other things that we're starting to glide, get our sum of best lower and lower. And I'm really stoked about that. Obviously, recently, this last week, we've PB'd twice on Contra Japanese any percent. And yeah, that was really cool, and there's a bunch of things I'm starting to notice. Like, now I'm going to start putting in a lot of outside time to work on my speed runs, because even like Mega Man 2, there are a lot of times where I'm like, man, I feel like I'm going to have to be perfect to make any time increases. Yet it's like there's a bunch of things I still need to know and I still need to practice, so it doesn't feel like I have to be perfect, even if I am starting to execute more and more things more and more correctly as time goes on. And it's just interesting when you get certain tricks down, how much time they really save. And you're like, but I thought it was only a couple of seconds, and it turns out to be like 6, 7, 8 seconds. So you're like, that's a lot of time, especially in a game like Mega Man 2 or a game like Contra, where 8, 10, 15 seconds is actually a huge chunk of time. And so I'm looking forward to that as these weeks progress forward, to be working on those things outside of it. Like, I'm already trying to work on a new grip for Contra. Instead of using the standard, which is, with your thumbs, I'm working on trying to figure out which digits I want to use for the claw techniques, And there's also different ways, and also it's got to be comfortable. I was practicing last night for about an hour, and it was just, man, it was. It's very interesting how painful the exertion is when it comes to the mashing technique that is critical in killing bosses, killing barriers or mini bosses quickly in Contra, because there's a lot of time lost in those portions. Especially, let's say if I'm talking about any of the bosses, right? And then if I'm talking about base 1 or base 2, which is our levels 2 and levels 4, those levels alone, I'm losing over half a minute. And when you look at it, you're like, well, that doesn't sound like too long. But when we start looking at the amount of time it takes to actually beat Contra, when you start doing all those things correctly, if I was able to do them correctly, it's a sub 10-minute game at that high level of execution, like the world record holders have. And so we're working on it. We're going to get there. We're going to get at least close. At least make them sweat a little bit. And what else? We had DOS Postman over this week. Milan Secret Castle. We finally, oh man, thanks to T. Stodden, we were able to find out that there is another hidden trick in it, and that you can actually use a continue after you die. But you have to hold the left D-pad, right? You just got to hold the left directional and then hit start. If you do that, you're good. But as soon as you hit start without doing that, you start from the very beginning all over again. That happened to us a couple of times on Monday, but it was great to have DOS Postman over here for his 91st appearance, and it's going really, really well. All right, looking forward. Let's see here. Tomorrow on Retro Friday, we are going to have SSJ Sharpie over here for Zombies Ate by Neighbors, and it's going to be the cosplay stream. I hope you guys are excited, because then our Twitter poll is for the following Friday, and currently Castlevania is winning. We will see if that is the game that will take the cake. Then we're going to be doing Steam Saturdays, and we'll be rocking Darkest Dungeon, as I won't be playing Darkest Dungeon on a Monday for Mix Up Mondays anytime soon, unless there's something else that's going on that makes me feel like we should do Darkest Dungeon, or as like a fallback game if we weren't having fun playing other games. On the Speedrun Sundays, Time Tuesdays, again, we're going to be playing the same games. It's just a matter of how much practice that I get in, where I might play certain games a little bit less or certain games a little more on those specific days. Mix Up Monday this week, we should also have right before then the Back to the Podcast with Flippity Flam. And then on Mix Up Mondays, I've got a surprise for you guys, and I hope you guys will enjoy another thought of being interactive. And I think you guys will like it. I really do think so. Okay, fitness updates. It's all going to plan. I'm losing very minuscule amount of muscle. We are burning through fat like crazy. We are losing a little bit of water weight, which is okay. It's not really that big of a deal for me, because I'm not going into a competition where those things actually would matter for how you look on the stage and stuff like that, versus me trying to get rid of all the fat that I gain in my attempt to get certain muscles bigger. Because again, I don't care about necessarily being very heavy. I just have a specific look that I have in my brain, and to get there, I have to go through all these different steps to achieve that. And yeah, it's been really awesome. The cardio, as annoying as it is, at the same time, it feels good to. It's good. You don't want to just, what do they call it? I'm trying to think of the terminology they use for someone who is in very good shape, but it only looks like they're in good shape, but they're not actually in healthy shape. So again, when I talk about the functional health, how good is your balance? But again, doing things like cardio, there was a reason why I would avoid it, or I'd only use it as like a jump starter to like trick my body every month or so, was I was bulking, and there was extra calories and things I couldn't afford to give up at that point in time, especially from a mental standpoint, where I would start to doubt myself, become like, why can't I gain more weight? Like, why is this so hard? I'm eating all day long, 8, 9 meals a day. And so it was one of those things that now with that shift, I just feel healthier because the blood flow is moving all over the place. I know that's helping my heart, and heart healthy, that matters as well. All these things that we're going and accomplishing, at the end of the day, you matter. Yes, you matter. So whenever you're doing these things, you also have to think of the long-term benefit. So like, for example, people always wonder like, oh, well, how come you don't do a competition? How come you're not doing steroids or X, Y, and Z to get to a higher level? That's not what I'm going to do. If I was to do a competition, where the fame, the glory, the any of the money or possible sponsorships, any of that kind of stuff is in the realms where you will have to cheat to really compete, because that's what's going on there, right? That's the reality of the landscape when it comes to competing at that upper echelon level. Well, I don't want to do that. Also, I don't as much. What I do is, I told you guys this before, when it comes to eating and tracking calories and all that kind of stuff. I'm in like that 90 to 95 percentile of execution. And what that means is I'm not weighing out everything exactly every time. I've done it before, many times before, and thus I have a pretty good, I can recognize that, right? I have a good idea. So I'm not stressing about, oh, was I 2 grains of rice off? Was I 3 leaflets of spinach off? Did I have 1 too many black olives? I don't want that to become a thing. I want to be eating healthy foods consistently at the right times. If that means a little bit more protein, if that means a little bit less protein, a little bit less carbohydrates, a little bit more fat, whatever it may be, those are things I don't mind working within, right? Because I really like the way the foods taste for the benefits that I'm getting out of them. But at the same time, I'm not trying to go cuckoo over it either, because if you're stressing, you're going to start uptaking cortisol, and that's toxic fat. That is just, that's how your body takes that stressor, that stress hormone, and just starts, and that doesn't help either. That's just self-defeating and self-deprecating, and that's just not going to help you. But that's all of that. So we're going strong. Next week's cardio is going to go from 18 minutes for 3 times a week up to 19. Once we finally hit the 20-minute threshold, we'll be going at 2-minute interval increases. So like from 20 to 22, from 22 to 24 minutes per time. This week again, I dropped another 20 carbohydrates from my diet. Oh, and this is going to happen this week. And depending on how my body reacts, we're going to measure again on Monday, right? And find that stuff out so we can see, not just assume. Let's get the details. Let's get the data. And I'll look at it. If my body hasn't changed at all during that time, we're going to cut down the carbohydrates some more. But once I cut down those carbohydrates some more, I'm going to replace it with protein and a little bit more fat. Again, remember, I've got the things all mapped out. I'm not having too much protein at all. Like, I'm not even close to that. Even though I'm sure some people are like, oh my God, when you're having higher quality sources of these proteins where you're really getting the value for what you perceive, for what you're intaking, is way greater on higher quality foods. And thus, yes, I'm probably having less, but I'm absorbing more. That matters. Like, it doesn't matter if you just put it in your system. What matters is your system absorb it and then utilizes it. Otherwise, again, it's just going to be a process of you wondering, why the heck am I not getting what I've been putting in me? And then wasting money at the same time. Don't you go and waste money. No, no, no. Dreamers, thank you so much for being so patient, for waiting the whole week in between, to where it felt like almost, it felt like 2 weeks, right? Because it's always a week off before you guys get a chance to see a new Daydream episode. Dreamers, if you missed any of last week's episode, it's right here. I know you guys have been awesome at subscribing, but let's put that right there. No, there. Yeah. All right, Dreamers. Dream on!